Hi everyone, I'm Rincey and this is Rincey Reads. Today I'm going to be talking about my unofficial but kind of official end of year TBR. So if you are someone who has watched my channel for any length of time, you know that I don't do TBR piles. I don't make hard lists of what I'm going to read because I don't do well with that level of rigidity. I need some level of flexibility because I am basically a mood reader. I avoid TBRs at all costs. Like I don't even show you like what's on my unread shelf ever because I don't want anyone to assume that because it's on that shelf that I'm going to read it because I might DNF it. And a lot of times I ignore my unread bookshelf and get books from the library. And I've even stopped showing what I get from the library for the same reasons. Especially lately, I have been in a little bit of a reading slump over the last, I would say, 4 to 6 months, but I feel like now I'm starting to actually get out of my reading slump. I've been reading a lot more regularly. I've been enjoying the books I've been reading regularly. You'll kind of see this when I do my September wrap up. But yeah, I feel like I'm getting back into the groove of reading. And one of the things I noticed was that my physical TBR pile has shrunk pretty drastically over the course of the year. I've been pretty good about not buying books. There's a little asterisk on that sentence that I'll explain in a second. But basically, anyone who follows me on Instagram would have seen this already, but I went to Portland recently. And so going to Portland for the very first time, I knew I was going to go to Powell's. And so one of the things I was doing was trying to get my physical TBR pile down to as low of a number as possible because I knew I was going to buy a lot of books at Powell's. And so I got my physical TBR down to right above 20 books. So I was at 22, 23 books, I think, before the trip. And then I went and I bought 15 books. Some of them were books I had already read. I think I added about 10 or 11 books to my official TBR. So I'm currently sitting at around 34 books. Now, obviously, there's no way I'm going to finish all of those books before the beginning of 2022. But one of the things that I realized while I was sort of assessing my physical TBR before my trip is that I actually don't have a lot of books left that are from before this year. So basically, obviously I bought some books this year. I've been sent some books in the mail this year, and that takes up the majority of my physical TBR. In terms of stuff that I got before January 1st, 2021, there's not a lot left. I was thinking didn't make reading goals for Q2 or Q3. Well, Q2, my reading goal was just to read because I was in the midst of a reading slump. And then I didn't make any for Q3 because I didn't really feel like it. And so I was thinking it would be a really fun end of the year project to see if I can try to finish all of my older books off my TBR before the start of the new year. And then I can sort of work on all these books that I've acquired over the course of this year, next year. And the idea of having books not sitting on my physical TBR for more than a year feels really appealing to me. And so I think I kind of want to work on that for these last 3 months of the year. So I guess I now have an unofficial but official TBR pile. So like I said, there aren't a lot of books on this list. And so what I'm going to do is just quickly run through them and sort of my game plan as I have it in my head right now. Obviously, all of this is subject to change. These probably won't be the only books I read over the rest of this year, but I'm going to try to prioritize these over the other books on my physical TBR or library books especially. I definitely get distracted by library books, but I've actually been really good about picking up my own books over my library books lately, but that's a whole separate thing. So yeah, I'm just going to run through the books really quickly. If you have any comments about any of the books that I have on my list, if you read any of these and especially if you enjoyed any of them in particular, feel free to leave a comment about that. But there are obviously some other things will see in a second that are coming into play. So first up, After She Wrote Him by Sulari Gentile. This is a mystery book. I bought this one on my birthday last year, or the week leading up to my birthday. I have read one other book by Sulari Gentile, which is from her what's the series called? Roland Sinclair, I think, series. And I really enjoyed that book. And so I got really excited when I saw this in a Barnes & Noble because this is an Australian writer. I don't think she's very popular here in the States right now. And this is the one I'm currently reading, but I'm only about 50 pages into this one. But it is officially on that list. Next, I have The Hojin Murders by Seshi Yokomizo. And this is translated by Louise Heal Kawai. This is also a mystery book. Pushkin Publishers, or Pushkin Vertigo, basically is republishing a bunch of classic or older Japanese mysteries. And so I've been like slowly picking them up. And so this is another one that I bought for my birthday last year, my birthday in 2020. So this one is also relatively short. And I also feel like this would be a fun one to pick up this fall anyways, because, murders and mysteries and Halloween in October. I have Mad, Bad, and Dangerous to Know by Samira Ahmed. I haven't read any Samira Ahmed books. She is a contemporary young adult writer. I think most all of her books are contemporary. But this book came out in April 2020, and this is a proof copy that was sent to me by Soho Teen. Next, I have Billy by Anna Gavalda, and this was translated by... They really need to put translators on the covers. Translated from the French by Jennifer Rappaport. I'm pretty sure Europa sent this to me, but I honestly don't remember. Again, this is another relatively short one, so yeah, I want to read it. Next, I have Paradise by Toni Morrison. So this one I've actually been holding on to for a number of years. Basically, I started reading Toni Morrison's books in publication order. And so I've been holding on to this one because this isn't the next book that I need to read. I just found it at a used bookstore for really cheap. And I was like, oh, I'll pick it up. And then when it's time for me to read Paradise, I'll pick this edition up. But I haven't picked up any Toni Morrison in a number of years. I think the last one I read was possibly Song of Solomon. No, I think Tar Baby was the last one I read. At this point, I just want to read Paradise so I can, put this on my unread pile. And I need, instead of like waiting until I pick up whatever the next book is, I feel like it's Jazz is the next book I'm supposed to pick up. But like, honestly, at this point, I've read like 3 or 4 of her books. I can just go on to Paradise and read it. I was thinking about like keeping this one off this list, but there's no reason to. I should just read it. Next, I have Travels with Charlie by John Steinbeck. I've read a decent amount of John Steinbeck. I feel like this and like there's like a couple of other of his like smaller books that I haven't read yet that I've yet to check out. But I really love the way that he writes. Part of me was like, oh, maybe I should have read this one while I was traveling and things like that. But I think holding on to books for theoretical potential experiences in the future is not super fun, or not super reasonable, I should say, because what's the point of holding on to books if you're never really going to read them and you just keep putting them off? Okay, next I have In Want and Plenty by Meredith McDaniel. This is a Christian devotional type of book. This is a book that I bought, I want to say in 2019. Like, I feel like I didn't buy this in 2020. Maybe I bought it in 2020. Anyways, I've been holding on to it for a while because I'm really bad at picking up, like, Christian devotional books because I just don't make time for them. Because, like, you can't really just, like, read through them in a single sitting like you can with novels and whatever. It's, like, books that you read, like, one chapter at a time. So I need to just start picking this one up and start reading a chapter every now and then. And I feel like if I start just doing that now, I'll get through it by the end of the year. I also have a couple of comics. I have Pashmina by Nidhi Chanani. This is like a kid's comic featuring an Indian character. I picked this up when I went to Austin in the beginning of 2020, like right before the pandemic hit. So been holding on to this one for a while. Need to read it. And then a comic that I honestly don't remember when I bought it. So I'm going to include this as a would be nice to read, but I don't necessarily have to read it if I'm running out of time or whatever. It's Omni Volume 1. I don't know anything about it. I just picked it up. The art looked cool and I Googled it and it has really good reviews. So I was just like, yeah, I'll give it a try. Like, this cover alone, how do you avoid that? Do I know what this comic's about? No, not at all. But here we are. Okay, and then I have 2 more books that are on my would be really nice to do it, but I don't know if it's possible to do it list. So the first one I'll show you is Anna Kay by Jenny Lee. I got this book a very long time ago. I feel like it was at the beginning of 2020 when I got it, whenever it originally came out. Yes, February of 2020. This is a young adult novel that is like loosely based on Anna Karenina. And the reason why I haven't read it yet is because I've been waiting until I read Anna Karenina. So for anyone who's been watching me for a number of years, you know this, but for anyone who's like newer, I used to do this thing where every August I would pick one big, like, intimidating classic and read it over the course of the month of August. And Anna Karenina has always been the one that I had like next on my list to do that with. And so I bought a copy of it, and then, 2020 happened and that wasn't going to happen. And then I was like, maybe I'll do it this year. And then I got into my reading slump. I think I'm finally getting back into the groove of reading again. And the idea of reading Anna Karenina seems really appealing. And so there's a part of me that want to try to attempt this year, but I think it's just going to very much depend on how the rest of the pile goes. So the rest of the pile, not including Anna Karenina and Anna K, is 9 books, one of which I'm already currently reading. And so I feel like I could finish those 9 books in October and November, and then save December and just read Anna Karenina in December. And worst case scenario, it maybe bleeds into January, and then I save Anna K for like a January or February, something along those lines. Like, I feel like that is reasonable for me. The problem will be if I get distracted by other books that I own, or if I get distracted by library books. I feel like the library thing, I've gotten a lot better at not checking out books from the library, but the other books that I own might be a problem because I just bought a bunch of books from Powell's. Again, you can go to my Instagram if you want to see them, and I'm really excited about some of those. I also want to kind of do nonfiction November, which, like, obviously I'm not going to read exclusively nonfiction, but like none of the books in that pile are currently nonfiction, so that's a thing. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I hate like being like, maybe I'll read a lot in October, but like realistically, I'm reading 1, maybe 2 books a week. So yeah, I feel like I've made like a pretty realistic goal for myself for the end of the year. That's not overly stressful, and honestly, like, if I don't get through them all, I feel like I'll be okay. But I feel like all of these books are like on the shorter side, or are like relatively easy reads outside of like Anna Karenina, that I could actually do this. And honestly, like, accomplishing a goal like this would make me feel so much better about myself and my reading this year, after like the slump I've been through and like the not making many videos thing and all that stuff. And yeah, maybe after like I finish this, I can start doing more like TBR check-ins and like try to like actually accomplish the goal of like getting my physical TBR down to like as few books as possible. Like, the fact that my books are under 50 is still like a huge deal, but when I was really close to 20, part of me didn't want to buy any books in Portland because I was like, oh, I'm so close to being under 20, and being under 20 is massive. But there's no way I was not going to buy books, let's be honest with ourselves. So yeah, that's basically like my goal and loose plan for the end of the year, and like my loose TBR for the end of the year. We'll see what happens. Obviously, like, none of this is set in stone. I'm okay with changing course if needed, but yeah, that's all I got. So yeah, let me know down in the comments below, like I said before, if you've read any of the books that I mentioned here and what your thoughts were on them. Let me know if you have any goals for yourself for the end of the year. I know like people tend to make annual goals and then give up on them, but I'm here to tell you, you can make a goal whenever you want and make the timeline whatever you want. You don't have to wait till January 1st. So yeah, that's all I have for now. Thanks for watching.